Are you overwhelmed by the sheer amount of paintings that you have that haven't sold or are simply just bad? I have a solution for this problem that I will disclose in this video, so stick around to find out. Considering the cost of art supplies, it seems wrong to waste a perfectly painted surface, whether it's being a canvas, a wooden board, or a linen panel such as this one. And what happens when you have painted something that you simply hate? What do you do with that, as in the case of this painting? It has been taking valuable storage space in your closet, and you could use a canvas for something far more exciting. So the first thing I do is I wipe the painting as good as I can. The second thing I do is grab a coarse sanded block like this. You can make one using 2x4s of a little piece of wood like I did, and then staple them in the back. I go in one direction and then I go in the opposite direction. I wipe it off, and after that I use a little bit less coarse sanding sponge, and I use a circular motion. I wipe it off again, and the last step is with the finest sandpaper. I made another block. Wipe it off again. I look at it through the light to make sure I don't have any ridges. Wipe it gently, pass my hand over the whole surface to make sure I'm not missing anything. Everything seems nice and smooth, so now this is ready for priming. This is an oil primed panel, so I can't use regular acrylic gesso. I need to use an oil primer. The one I'm using is Winsor & Newton oil painting primer. I decided not to use the roller because I can get more coverage with the brush. The one I'm using is a large, good quality house painting brush that you can find in all home improvement stores. After I stir the primer thoroughly, I apply a thin coat in one direction, carefully watching out for bumps. But if some bumps were to occur, just so you know, there can be sanded later when the canvas or board has dried, which in the case of an oil painting primer may take up to 3 to 4 days depending on thickness and the weather. It's much easier to use regular acrylic gesso to prime canvases, and my favorite is Jerry's World's Greatest Gesso because it's very thick and it covers beautifully. But this particular board is a Raymart Belgian linen panel that has already 2 coats of oil painting primer, so I have to use an oil primer. You cannot apply an acrylic primer on top of an oil surface. If you don't have an oil primer, you can also use a fast dry white paint or alkyd paint, or even a regular titanium white thing a little with Gamsol or mineral spirits. It's important to remember that when we are using an oil primer, it's very toxic. So we need to turn on exhaust fans, open windows, and use a mask however possible. Definitely do it on a well-ventilated area. I always have a thin brush and tweezers with me whenever I do this. because sometimes there are hairs or even tiny flying insects that may fall on the surface, and it's much easier to remove them when the surface is wet than after it has dried. Also, you want to use gloves and have wet wipes nearby for some quick and easy cleanup. If you have another way that you prime your boards, I'll be happy to hear about it, so please let us all know in your comments. A brand new board for your new masterpiece.